The alien ship came out of faster-than-light travel near Earth. It was small and old. The paint was falling off its sides. Inside the ship, Ambassador sat alone. His four hands were shaking. His large black eyes looked at the blue planet below. Had never wanted to come here. Nobody wanted to come here. Earth was a death world. The humans who lived there were monsters. Everyone in the galaxy knew this. For 50 years, humans had been part of the galactic community, and for 50 years, everyone had been afraid of them. But had no choice. He had tried everyone else first. The Collective said no. The Empire said no. The Trade Alliance said they did not want trouble. Every species, every nation, every power in the galaxy had given the same answer. They would not help. They could not help. They were too afraid. Only the humans remained. Guided his ship toward the massive station that floated above Earth. It was called Sentinel Station. It was the headquarters of the human military. As he got closer, saw the human warships. They were ugly and brutal. They had no grace. They were built only for destruction. A human voice came through his radio. "Unknown vessel, state your purpose." Tried to keep his voice steady. "I am Ambassador of the Collective. I request an audience with Admiral Park." There was silence. "Then proceed to Docking Bay 7. You will be escorted." The docking bay was cold. Humans liked cold. They also liked heat. They could survive in temperatures that would kill most species. This was just one of many things that made them terrifying. Two human soldiers met at the door. They wore black armor and carried weapons. Their faces showed no emotion. They did not speak. They simply gestured for to follow. The walk through the station was long. Saw humans everywhere. They were so strange. They had only 2 arms and 2 legs. They had soft skin with no scales or shell. They looked weak, but knew the truth. These soft creatures had conquered their death world. They had survived ice ages and plagues and predators. They had killed everything that tried to kill them. And now they ruled the stars. The soldiers brought to a large room. At the far end, a human male sat behind a desk. He had short black hair and dark eyes. His face was calm. He wore a simple uniform with many medals on the chest. This was Admiral Park, commander of Earth's first expeditionary fleet, one of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. Park did not stand. He did not smile. He simply looked at with those dark human eyes. "Ambassador," Park said. His voice was quiet. "The Collective has never sent anyone to Earth before. You have always said we are too dangerous to deal with." Felt shame burn through him. The human was right. They had said many things about humans. They had called them savages. They had called them animals. They had voted against humans joining the Galactic Council. But now needed them. Admiral Park said. He tried to stand tall, but his legs were shaking. "I come to ask for help." Park raised one eyebrow. This was a human expression that meant surprise. "Help from us." Yes, took a deep breath. Then he did something his species had never done before another race. He fell to his knees. "I beg you, please." Park's expression did not change. "Tell me." Explained everything. The Dominion had begun a war of destruction. Their target was a planet called Prime. They were a peaceful people. They had no army. They had no weapons. They believed in harmony and understanding. They believed in conquest and death. "They have already killed 2 billion, said. His voice was breaking. "In 3 cycles they will finish. 12 billion more will die. They will be gone forever." Park listened in silence. When finished, the human asked only one question. "Why should we help? They called us monsters. They voted to limit our expansion. The galaxy has treated us like dangerous animals for 50 years. Why should we care what happens to them?" Had no answer. He had asked himself the same question. Why would the humans help? They owed nothing to the galaxy. The galaxy had given them nothing but fear and hatred. "Because," finally said, "you are the only ones who can." Park stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at Earth. The blue planet turned slowly below. Clouds moved across its surface. Somewhere down there, 8 billion humans lived their lives. "Leave me," Park said. Was escorted out. He returned to his ship and waited. He did not know what would happen. He did not know if the humans would help or laugh or attack. Humans were unpredictable. This made them even more frightening. Hours passed. Then a message came through his radio. "Ambassador," it was Admiral Park's voice. "Return to your people. Tell them that humanity has heard their cry." Felt his heart stop. "Admiral, what do you mean?" "I mean we are coming." Park's voice was hard as stone. "Signal the fleet, we march to war." Through his window, watched as the human warships began to move. Lights turned on across their hulls. Engines fired. One by one, the massive vessels turned away from Earth and aimed toward the stars. The monsters were coming. And for the first time in his life, was glad. The fleet moved through space like a pack of wolves. There were 47 ships in total. They were not pretty. They were not elegant. They were weapons made of metal and fire. On the bridge of the flagship Hammer of Terra, Admiral Park stood with his hands behind his back. Around him, human officers worked at their stations. They were calm. They were focused. They had done this before. Captain Lee walked up to stand beside him. She was tall for a human female. Her black hair was cut short. Her eyes were sharp. She commanded the battleship Iron Will, the second largest ship in the fleet. "The fleet is ready," she said. "We will reach Prime in 6 days." Park nodded. "Good. What do we know about the—" Doctor stepped forward. He was the chief science officer. He was thin and wore glasses. His job was to study the enemy and find their weakness. "The Dominion has controlled 12 star systems for 300 years, said. "They are warriors. They live for battle. Their fleet above Prime has 140 ships." Lee made a small sound. 3-1 odds. "Yes," agreed. "By normal standards we should lose." Park looked at him. "But we are not normal." Smiled. It was a cold smile. "No, Admiral, we are not." On the lower decks of the ship, Lieutenant Bay was running numbers. She was the tactical officer. Her job was to find ways to win battles that seemed impossible. She was very good at her job. Her screen showed the enemy fleet. 140 ships, heavy armor, advanced weapons, that had never lost a war. Did not care. She had read the reports about biology. They were strong. They were tough. But they had evolved on a peaceful world. A world with low gravity and mild weather. A world nothing like Earth. They did not understand what they were about to face. In the training room, Sergeant was preparing his soldiers. The Black Tigers were the best ground combat unit in the human military. They had fought on jungle planets and ice worlds. They had won battles against enemies that outnumbered them 10-1. "Listen up," said to his soldiers. "They think they are warriors. They think they know battle. They have never fought humans before." He pointed to a screen showing soldiers. They were large. They had 4 arms and thick skin. They stood 2 meters tall. "They are big," continued. "But size does not matter. Speed matters. Endurance matters. The will to keep fighting when your body wants to stop. That matters." He paused. "They have none of these things. We have all of them." Back on the bridge, Admiral Park was reading a report about Earth. It was written by an alien scientist who had studied human. The report called Earth a Class 12, the highest danger rating possible. Earth had extreme temperatures. Some places were hot enough to boil water. Other places were cold enough to freeze blood. Earth had crushing gravity that made alien visitors feel sick. Earth had an atmosphere full of oxygen, which was poisonous to many species. But the worst thing about Earth was the life. Every animal on Earth was a killer. The oceans were filled with predators that had more teeth than body. The land had creatures that hunted in packs and never gave up. Even the small animals were dangerous. Even the plants could kill. And then there were the diseases. Earth had more types of bacteria and viruses than any other known world. They mutated so fast that no cure lasted for long. Alien visitors to Earth often died from simple infections that humans did not even notice. Humans had evolved in this nightmare. They had become the ultimate survivors. They could run for days without stopping. They could heal from wounds that would kill other species. They could eat foods that were poison to everyone else. They could survive in vacuum for short periods. They could function without sleep for a week. They were monsters, but they were monsters that chose what to fight for. Captain Lee walked through her ship, the Iron Will. She passed engineers fixing machines. She passed pilots checking their fighters. She passed doctors preparing medical bays for wounded soldiers. Every person she passed came from a different place. Some were from Korea, some were from Brazil, some were from Nigeria, some were from 100 other nations. They spoke different languages. They had different customs. They believed different things. But they were all human, and that made them family. Stopped in front of a window. Through it, she could see the stars rushing past. Somewhere out there, billions of were waiting to die. They had called humans monsters. They had voted against human expansion. They had treated humans like dangerous animals. And now humans were coming to save them. Smiled, this was what it meant to be human, not the strength, not the speed, not the ability to survive anything. What made humans special was their choice. They could have stayed home. They could have let them die. Nobody would have blamed them. But humans did not work that way. When someone was in trouble, humans helped. It was simple. It was foolish. It was the most human thing there was. She turned on the ship-wide communication system. Her voice went to every corner of the Iron Will. This is Captain Lee. In 6 days we will reach Prime. We will face an enemy that outnumbers us 3-1. Many of us will not come home. She paused. The galaxy thinks we are monsters. They fear us. They hate us. They do not understand us. But we do not fight for their understanding. We fight because we cannot stand to see the helpless suffer. We fight because it is right. Her voice grew stronger. So let them call us monsters. Let them call us savages. When this battle is over, they will know the truth. They will know that the monsters came to save them, and they will never forget. Across the fleet, humans heard her words. They did not cheer. They did not shout. They simply nodded and returned to their work. They were coming, and they were coming with everything they had. The human fleet came out of faster than light travel like thunder. 47 ships appeared in the space above Prime. They faced 140 warships. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings watched. The Galactic News Network was broadcasting the event live. Nobody wanted to miss this. Either the humans would die or something impossible would happen. On the command ship, Warlord watched the human fleet arrive. He was a massive creature. His 4 arms were thick with muscle. His face was covered with battle scars. He had conquered 11 species. He had destroyed countless civilizations. And he was laughing. 47 ships, said to his officers. The humans send 47 ships against our 140. They are either very brave or very stupid. His officers laughed with him. The humans were famous across the galaxy. Everyone knew they were dangerous, but numbers were numbers. They could not lose. On the planet below, 12 billion waited to die. Their cities were burning. Their people were hiding in shelters. Their leaders had sent one last message to the galaxy. They asked everyone to remember them when they were gone. Then the human message came. Admiral Park's voice filled every radio frequency. It was broadcast to the fleet. It was broadcast to the people. It was broadcast to everyone watching across the galaxy. This is Admiral Park of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. We are here to escort the people to safety. Any vessel that fires upon refugees or civilian targets will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to withdraw. Silence followed. Then laughter came through the channel. Admiral Park, I have heard of you, the quiet human, the careful strategist. You are far from home, little human. You are outnumbered 3 to 1. Your ships are small. Your people are few. Leaned forward. I give you one chance. Leave now. Take your toy ships and run back to your death world. Do this and I will let you live. Park's response came after a moment of silence. It was calm. It was quiet. It was terrifying. We do not retreat. The hour passed slowly. On the human ships, crews prepared for battle. Lieutenant Bay ran final calculations. Captain Lee checked her weapons. Sergeant loaded his combat armor. Doctor activated a special system. It was a jamming device. It would disrupt targeting computers and communications. It was new technology that had never seen anything like it. When the hour ended, nothing happened. The fleet did not move. They were waiting. They wanted the humans to attack first. Park looked at his crew. They were ready. They were calm. They were not afraid. All ships, Park said, weapons free. The battle began. The human ships moved in ways they did not expect. They did not form lines. They did not fight in formation. They scattered and attacked from every direction at once. Captain Lee led the charge. Her ship, the Iron Will, flew straight at the enemy center. Weapons fired at her. Explosions hit her shields. She did not slow down. Give them everything, she ordered. Make them remember this day. The Iron Will's guns fired. Each shot hit its target. Ships exploded. Debris filled the space around them. But the Iron Will did not fight alone. Smaller human ships flew beside her. They moved too fast for them to track. They dodged weapons fire that should have hit them. They performed maneuvers that seemed impossible. On the bridge of the Hammer of Terra, Admiral Park watched the battle unfold. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt pride. His people were doing what humans did best. They were fighting against impossible odds, and they were winning. Doctor's jamming system worked perfectly. Targeting computers went dark. Their communications became chaos. Officers screamed orders that no one could hear. Ships fired at targets that were no longer there. The humans took advantage of this confusion. They struck at weak points. They destroyed supply ships. They crippled weapons platforms. Every shot counted. Every death meant something. But they were not finished. They were warriors too. They had numbers on their side. Slowly they began to adapt. They switched to manual targeting. They used light signals instead of radio. Human ships started taking damage. The Iron Will was hit multiple times. Captain felt her ship shake with each impact. Warning lights filled the bridge, but she did not stop fighting. On the planet below, they watched the battle through telescopes. They saw the human ships fighting. They saw explosions in the sky. They did not understand. Why were the humans dying for them? High Elder was the oldest of the leaders. He had lived for 300 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. They are dying for us, he said to the others around him. These beings we called monsters, these people we feared and rejected, they are dying to save our children. In space, the battle continued. Lieutenant found a weakness in the formation. She reported it to Admiral Park. A group of enemy ships were out of position. If the humans struck now, they could do serious damage. Park gave the order. 10 human ships turned and attacked. They hit the vulnerable enemy group hard. 15 ships were destroyed in minutes. Warlord watched his ships die. His laughter was gone now. His face was twisted with rage. How, he demanded, how are they doing this? No one could answer him. The humans were not fighting like any enemy they had ever faced. They were too fast, too aggressive, too willing to die. And they were not stopping. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings watched the impossible happen. The humans were not losing. The monsters of Earth were standing against the conquerors of 12 star systems, and the monsters were holding their ground. For the first time in 300 years, the Dominion faced an enemy that did not fear them. And that enemy was just getting started. The battle had lasted for 3 hours. Both sides had lost many ships. The space around Prime was filled with wreckage and bodies, but neither side was ready to give up. On the hammer of Terra, Admiral Park was bleeding. A piece of metal had cut his forehead during an explosion. Blood ran down his face. He refused to let the medics treat him. "I will rest when this is over," he said, "not before." The human fleet had lost 12 ships, the had lost 42, but the still had 98 ships left. The humans had 35. The numbers were getting worse. Then Warlord made a cruel decision. If he could not win in space, he would make sure the humans won nothing. "All ground forces," ordered. "Accelerate the destruction, burn every city, kill every, leave nothing alive." On the planet's surface, soldiers began their final attack. They moved toward the last remaining shelters. 12 billion were about to die. Admiral Park heard the report. His face became hard as stone. He turned to his communications officer. "Get me Sergeant." Seconds later's voice came through. "Admiral, deploy your unit. Ground assault. Protect the civilians at any cost." There was no hesitation. "Yes, sir. Black Tigers prepare for drop." The human soldiers climbed into their drop pods. These were small metal capsules that could fall from space to a planet's surface in minutes. It was a violent way to travel. The pressure and heat would kill most species. For humans, it was just uncomfortable. Checked his weapon one last time. Around him, 50 of the best human soldiers were doing the same. They were outnumbered 500 to 1. They had 25,000 ground troops. 50 against 25,000. Smiled, he had faced worse odds. "Remember your training," he told his soldiers. "Remember what we fight for, and remember this. We are human, we do not lose." The drop pods launched. They fell through space and entered the planet's atmosphere. Fire surrounded them. The pods shook violently. Inside, the soldiers stayed calm. They hit the ground near the largest civilian shelter. Soldiers were already attacking it. Thousands were inside, waiting to die. His pod opened. He stepped out and started firing immediately. His first 3 shots killed 3 soldiers. His 4th shot destroyed their vehicle. The Black Tigers spread out. They moved fast. They hit hard. Each soldier was worth 100 regular troops. Their powered armor made them strong. Their human reflexes made them fast. Their training made them deadly. The soldiers had never seen anything like it. These humans would not stay down. They took wounds that should kill them and kept fighting. They adapted to tactics within seconds. They fought in ways that made no sense but worked perfectly. In space, the battle continued. Lieutenant Bay had identified his command ship. If they could destroy it, the fleet might break. But the command ship was protected by 30 warships. No human vessel could reach it. No vessel except one. Captain Lee looked at her damaged ship. The Iron Will was dying. Half its weapons were gone. Its shields were failing. Its engines were damaged. But it could still move. It could still fight, and it could reach the enemy command ship. She turned to her crew. "This ship is finished, but we can still do something that matters. I am going to ram the command ship. Anyone who wants to leave, go now. No one will think less of you." No one moved. Every crew member looked at her with steady eyes. They knew what she was asking. They chose to stay. "Then let us show them what humans are made of," said. The Iron Will turned towards command ship. Its engines fired at maximum power. Warning alarms screamed throughout the vessel. The structure began to break apart. Ships tried to stop her. They fired everything they had. The Iron Will took hit after hit. Fire spread through its corridors. Explosions destroyed entire sections. But kept pushing forward. Her ship was dying around her. Her crew was dying around her, but she would not stop. Admiral Park watched from the hammer of Terra. He knew what was doing. He wanted to stop her. He could not. "Captain Lee," he said over the radio, "it has been an honor." smiled through the blood on her face. "The honor is mine, Admiral. Tell them we did not die for nothing." She turned on the broadcast system. Her voice went out to every ship, every soldier, every being watching across the galaxy. "For Earth, for everyone you have ever hurt. The iron will hit command ship at full speed." The explosion was massive. It destroyed both vessels instantly. Warlord died without ever understanding what hit him. The fleet saw their leader die. They saw their command ship explode. For a moment they did not know what to do. Then one by one they began to retreat. On the ground, Sergeant and his soldiers fought their way to the civilian shelter. They found the door and opened it. Inside, thousands were huddled together. They were terrified. In the middle of the group found High Elder. The old alien was protecting a group of children. His frail body was covered in dust. His large eyes were full of tears. Knelt down to meet the elder's eyes. His armor was damaged. His face was bloody. He had been fighting for hours without rest. "Why?" asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "Why did you come for us?" Looked at the children. They were small, they were scared, they were innocent. "Because someone had to," he said simply. Outside, the soldiers were retreating. The Black Tigers had broken their attack. 50 humans had defeated thousands of enemies. In space, the remaining ships were running away. The human fleet did not chase them. They had won. That was enough. Admiral Park looked at the battle report. They had lost 17 ships. Over 3,000 humans were dead. Captain Lee was gone. But 12 billion were alive. They would see another day because of what the humans had done. Park closed his eyes. The price was high. It was always high, but some things were worth any price. Some things were worth dying for. 1 week had passed since the battle. The space above Prime was quiet now. Human ships floated among the wreckage. Rescue teams were still searching for survivors. On the planet's surface, the fires were out. The people had begun to rebuild. 12 billion lives had been saved, but the cost had been terrible. 3,200 humans had died. 17 ships had been destroyed. And Captain Lee, the woman who killed Warlord, was gone forever. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. Everyone was talking about what the humans had done. Species that had feared humanity for 50 years were seeing them in a new way. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every major civilization gathered to discuss what had happened. High Elder was given the right to speak first. The old walked slowly to the center of the chamber. He looked tired, he looked broken, but his voice was strong. For 300 years, the Dominion has terrorized this galaxy. They have destroyed civilizations. They have killed billions, and we did nothing. We were afraid. We told ourselves it was not our problem. He paused. His large eyes swept across the room. Then the humans came. These beings we called monsters. These people we feared and rejected. They came to save strangers. They came to protect people who had treated them with hate and suspicion. His voice broke with emotion. I watched their soldiers carry our wounded to safety. I watched their medics treat our children. I watched them die for us. And I asked their leader why. Do you know what he said? The chamber was silent. He said, because someone had to. Let the words hang in the air. Then he continued. We were wrong about humanity. They are not monsters. They are guardians. They have more strength than any species in this galaxy, and they choose to use that strength to protect the weak. This is not the mark of a monster. This is the mark of a true civilization. Ambassador stood up next. The same being who had begged the humans for help now stood beside them as an ally. The collective was wrong to fear humanity. We were wrong to call them savages. From this day forward, we pledge eternal friendship with Earth. Where humans go, we will stand with them. Other species began to speak. Some apologized for how they had treated humans. Others asked for protection. Others simply expressed respect. The galaxy was changing. and humanity was at the center of that change. On Earth, there was no celebration. Instead, there was mourning. Families gathered to remember those who had died. Soldiers stood in silence as names were read aloud. Admiral Park stood at the front of the memorial ceremony. He had finally allowed doctors to treat his wound. A bandage covered his forehead, but his eyes were clear. He spoke about Captain Lee. He told stories of her courage. He described her final moments. He explained why her sacrifice mattered. She did not die for glory, Park said. She did not die for medals or praise. She died because she believed in something. She believed that the strong should protect the weak. She believed that humanity could be more than its fears. She believed in us. His voice grew quiet. The best way to honor her is to keep believing, keep fighting for what is right, keep standing up for those who cannot stand for themselves. Doctor stood near the back of the ceremony. He watched the faces of the people around him. They were sad. They were tired, but they were not broken. He thought about what humanity had proven. They had shown the galaxy that strength and compassion could exist together, that being dangerous did not mean being evil, that the most powerful weapon was the willingness to sacrifice for others. Lieutenant Bay received a promotion. She was now captain. Her new ship was called the Lee. It was the first of a new class of warship, faster, stronger, built to protect. I will honor her name, promised. Every day, every mission, I will make her proud. Sergeant returned to Earth a hero, but he refused all celebrations. Instead, he spent his time visiting the families of soldiers who had died. He told them how brave their loved ones had been. He promised them that the sacrifices meant something. One family asked him a question. A young girl, maybe 8 years old. Her father had died in the battle. "Why do you fight?" she asked. "Is it not scary?" Knelt down to look at her. "It is very scary, every time, but I fight because there are people like you who need protection. And when I think about that, the fear does not matter anymore." The girl nodded slowly. "I want to be brave like my father." "You already are," said. A month after the battle, Admiral Park stood before the United Nations. Leaders from every nation on Earth had gathered to hear him speak. Billions more watched through screens. "They called us," Park began. "They said we were born from a planet of nightmares, and they were right. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day of our evolution. It made us strong. It made us stubborn. It made us survivors." He paused. "But it also taught us something else. It taught us that life is precious because it is fragile. It taught us that strength means nothing if it is not used to protect those who cannot protect themselves." His voice grew stronger. "The galaxy asked why we came for the answer is simple, because we are human, and humans do not abandon the innocent to die." Park looked directly at the cameras. His eyes seemed to reach through the screens to every being watching across the stars. "Let the galaxy remember this. Let every tyrant, every warlord, every empire that preys upon the weak hear our message. Humanity stands ready, and we will answer every call." In the weeks that followed, messages arrived from across the galaxy. Other species, other worlds, other civilizations. All of them were asking the same thing. They wanted help. They wanted protection. They wanted to stand with the humans. They had become the galaxy's guardians. And high above Earth, the rebuilt fleet waited. New ships, new crews, new missions. The stars stretched out before them, filled with possibility and danger. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the new hammer of Terra. He looked out at the darkness and the lights beyond. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. Somewhere out there, someone needed help, and humanity would answer. Because that was what humans did. That was what they would always do.